I met the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, in my first visit to the United States, and you may have seen, he was ecstatic about my meeting with him. Says it was the best meeting he had had. Wait until I meet Trump himself. Just wait. Until I meet him.
When was the last time an African president told the President of the United States no? You see, for 70 years, African leaders jumped when Western presidents called. They would drop everything and fly across oceans to shake hands, pose for photos, and sign whatever agreements got put in front of them. And if you refused, aid got cut, loans got blocked, and your country got sanctioned. So African presidents learned, when Washington calls, you say yes, even if it means humiliating yourself, even if it means negotiating your own resources on someone else's terms, even if everyone watching knows you're the weaker party in the room. That was the rule for decades, until last week when President Duma Boko of Botswana got an invitation to Washington from Donald Trump. It was an invitation to discuss critical minerals which America desperately needs for electric vehicles, military technology, and economic dominance. And Boko said no, not because he's too busy, but because buyers travel to sellers. And if America wants Botswana's minerals, Trump can fly to Gaborone. And now, the world is calling it diplomatic suicide. They're saying Botswana just alienated the most powerful country on earth, and that Boko made a catastrophic mistake that will cost Botswana access, investment, and American goodwill. But what if they're wrong? What if this is exactly the moment when African countries have enough leverage to flip the script? What if the era of African presidents begging for deals in Washington is over? Last month, Donald Trump's administration reached out to President Duma Boko. Come to Washington, they said. Let's discuss critical minerals. But to everyone's surprise, the president of Botswana, Duma Boko, said no. And guess what? He didn't say it through diplomatic channels. He said it publicly with a statement that made headlines across Africa. If there is any business or official engagement to discuss, it should take place in Botswana, not abroad. He also added, Botswana is tired of traveling abroad for deals that concern its own resources. If there is genuine interest in our resources, come to Botswana so we can talk business. Let us respect the basic principle of commerce. Buyers should go to the sellers. If the situation is reversed, then the buyer's interest is not truly valuable. That last line is devastating. If the situation is reversed, then the buyer's interest is not truly valuable. In simple terms, if America really needs Botswana's minerals, Gaborone. If he doesn't, then America doesn't actually need those minerals badly enough. The story broke on social media first, and Pan-African accounts on X, formerly Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Nigerian Senator Shehu Sani amplified it, praising Boko's stance as defending African dignity. And within days, it spread across the continent. Because most African leaders don't say no to American presidents. So when Boko refused, it felt revolutionary. But here's the complication nobody's talking about. Botswana has been negotiating with Trump's administration for months about tariffs. In August 2025, Trump imposed a 37% tariff on Botswana's exports, mostly diamonds. Botswana's government scrambled. They offered priority access to critical minerals in exchange for tariff relief. It worked, and the tariff dropped to 15%. So Botswana isn't actually refusing to work with America. They're simply working with America on their terms. They'll give Trump access to minerals. Yes, but discussions happen in Gaborone, not Washington. That's the shift. And that distinction matters because what Boko is doing isn't diplomatic isolation. It's power rebalancing. And it only works if Botswana actually has leverage. Now, the big question is, does Botswana have leverage? Well, here's why Boko's refusal isn't diplomatic suicide: timing, and what Botswana has underneath their soil. Let's start with what America needs. The United States is trying to build electric vehicle supply chains without depending on China. And right now, China controls 90% of global rare earth processing, 70% of lithium refining, and 60% of cobalt processing. So, if you want batteries for electric vehicles, renewable energy storage, or military hardware, you're dependent on Chinese supply chains. Not surprisingly, Trump's administration sees that as a national security threat. They want American companies manufacturing batteries with minerals processed outside China. But there's a problem. China doesn't just control processing through market dominance. They locked up supply agreements with mineral producers decades ago. For example, the Democratic Republic of Congo produces 75% of global cobalt, and Chinese companies control most of those mines. Zimbabwe is Africa's largest lithium producer, and Chinese companies operate the biggest operations. Indonesia banned nickel ore exports and built processing capacity with Chinese investment. Now they dominate nickel supply. So when American companies want minerals, they're competing with Chinese companies that already have relationships, infrastructure, and long-term contracts. Basically, America is late to the game, and they're desperate to catch up. However, Botswana stepped into the picture with its late February 2026 discovery. Sodalo Resources announced discovery of all 15 rare earth elements in commercially viable concentrations. That's not just lithium or cobalt. That's the complete suite of minerals essential for high-tech manufacturing. But that's not all. Botswana also has lithium deposits that haven't been fully developed. And here is the game changer. Unlike the DRC or Zimbabwe, Botswana isn't already locked into Chinese partnerships. Their mining sector is dominated by diamonds, where they partner with De Beers. Their rare earth and lithium deposits are undeveloped. And that means America can compete for access without fighting Chinese incumbents. Additionally, Botswana has something most African countries don't: political stability. They're ranked 31st globally for low corruption and have functioning democratic institutions. When companies invest in Botswana, they're not worried about coups, nationalization, or regulatory chaos. All of that combination, undeveloped rare earth deposits, political stability, and no Chinese lock-in, makes Botswana extremely valuable to American mineral security. And Boko knows this, which is why he's not refusing Trump, because Botswana doesn't need America. He's refusing because America needs Botswana enough that Trump should be willing to travel. Besides this, Botswana isn't just negotiating with America. They're negotiating with everyone: China, the European Union, and Australia. That competition gives Botswana leverage they've never had before. So when Boko says buyers must come to sellers, he's not making a moral argument. He's making a market argument. Now here's what makes Boko's refusal dangerous to the existing world order. If it works, every African country with critical minerals will try the same thing. Think about what just happened. An African president refused an American presidential invitation and demanded meetings happen on African soil for deals concerning African resources. And the reasoning was simple: buyers travel to sellers. That logic is bulletproof. If America needs Botswana's rare earths more than Botswana needs